All right, so it's 6:01, and I'm calling this meeting to order. Ooh, we're going to rise to salute the flag.
Can you see it?
I see it, yeah. All right. Rise, and Neil, you want to lead us to the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which is stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Not getting quite easy, but it's still doable. Okay. The first order of business is approval of minutes. And we have a December 14th work session minutes. Has everyone had a chance to review? Is there a motion?
I make a motion, we approve the minutes as written.
All right, John moves. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, Neil seconds. Any discussion? Hearing none. Zach, your vote?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Marianne?
Aye.
Neil?
Aye.
Bill? Aye. All right. Second series of minutes, December 14th, 2020 regular meeting minutes. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Okay, Marianne moves. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, Zach seconds. Neil, your vote?
Aye.
Marianne?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Zach?
Aye.
Bill? Aye. Okay, the third set of minutes, January 4th budget work session minutes. Is there a motion?
Make a motion, we accept the meeting minutes from our budget work session on January 4th.
All right, Marianne moves. Is there a second?
Second.
Neil seconds. Any discussion? Hearing none. Zach, your vote?
I don't think I have these ones in my packet, so I'm going to abstain.
Well, I didn't either, but I wasn't there, so I was going to abstain too.
I didn't
either. So it looks like we're going to be tabling these guys.
Yeah,
but,
table them.
All right.
Yeah.
Very good. So the select board will meet on the following dates. We'll have a budget work session at 2 o'clock on Tuesday. Is it 2, right? Or 3?
3.
Great.
All right, 3 p.m. on Tuesday, January 19th. We'll also have regular meetings. The next one is January 25th at 6 p.m. Then we'll have one on February 8th at 6 p.m. And then we're going to have our first budget public hearing on Monday, January 25th. And then a second budget public hearing, if we need it, to read the petition warrant articles on Thursday, February 4th. And work sessions prior to the regular meeting will start at 5 p.m.
Time.
What's that?
I think the public hearing, Bill, just so we posted on here, is at 6:15.
The first public hearing for Monday, January 25th is during a regular select board meeting and will begin at 6:15. And the second budget public hearing, if needed, will begin at 6 o'clock on Thursday, February 4th.
Good. Thanks, Kathy. We're going to have there's going to be a joint meeting or meetings of the Plymouth Selectboard and Plymouth Village Water and Sewer District Commissioners to discuss Main Street water sewer drainage construction project. And this is going to be on Wednesday, January 13th at 8:30 a.m. and also at 7 p.m. Zoom information can be found on the town website at www.plymouth-nh.org. And also at the Plymouth Village Water and Sewer District website at www.pvwsd.org. Town offices will be closed Monday, January 18th, 2021, in observance of Civil Rights Day. And all of the above meetings will be held via Zoom. You can find dial-in information on the town's website at plymouth-nh.org. Citizens wishing to be listed on the Select Board's agenda should notify the Town Hall before 12 p.m. the Friday before the scheduled meeting. Reopening of town offices. The town of Plymouth continues to follow the governor's orders and CDC updates and recommendations very closely regarding COVID-19. At this time, State of Emergency Order 72 under Section 18 of Executive Order 2020-04 has been extended for an additional 21 days from the original date of January 15th, 2021. Due to the concerns of the COVID-19 virus and by agreement of the town's emergency management director, town offices will remain closed to the public until February 22nd, 2021. Please note, as we respond to this unprecedented and rapidly changing situation, the above plans may change at any time in the future. We expect to receive regular updates and we'll make every attempt to keep you informed. Please continue to check our website and Facebook page for up-to-date planning and information. If you need something, please don't hesitate to call the Selectman's office at 536-1731 from 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. or the Town Clerk's office at 536-1732 from 8:30 to 4. And the Tax Collector's office at 536-4733, Wednesday and Thursday, 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. At this point, I'd like to introduce our new Planning and Development Director, June Hammond-Rowan. I'd just like to describe the fact that a town search committee was engaged to review the applicants for our vacant Planning and Development Director position. The Select Board interviewed the best applicants, and based on the search committee's criteria and the board's review, we hired June Hammond-Rowan as our new Planning and Development Director. June started her career as planner in Berlin, New Hampshire, and served as a city planner from 1994 to 2000. Then June moved south to join the town of Plymouth as a community planner until 2004. She then went to work for the State Planning Office as the Water Resources Planner and spent the last 16 years in a variety of roles, including teaching community planning at Plymouth State University. As a professor, June missed the actual hands-on work of town planning, and when the position of the Planning Development Director became available within the town of Plymouth, she submitted her letter of interest with a resume. The Select Board and Town Manager consider themselves very fortunate to have June back in their fold. And June brings with her much expertise and experience in the economic development field, as well as grant writing and helping Plymouth to grow to be the town whose citizens can be proud to call home. June, it's very good to have you on board, and wondering if you might be able to say a few minutes about yourself. And
very much for that nice introduction. I think you covered my background pretty well. So if anybody has any questions, I guess now it's wonderful to be back working for the town. And as Bill outlined, I think I was been thinking about making this type of a change and coming back to do the planning work for actually a couple years in a variety of different ways. So I think, you know, it's great to be having this opportunity. And while I've enjoyed everything I've been doing since I last left the town, I'm back. So I just started really getting settled in the office last week. So it's been a lot of just kind of reorganizing things. And I just should mention, I thank you to everybody so far that, in town hall, that for welcoming me and helping out. Other, department heads and town staff have been wonderful to have helping and welcoming in various ways. I think I have a lot to catch up on and refresh my mind and sort out different priorities for the community. And we had I attended the first planning board meeting last Thursday night. So it was good to see some familiar faces there too. I think starting off, I would like to spend the next few weeks really kind of, like I said, kind of getting reorganized and resettled and settled into things, and really thinking about what types of planning functions, how things are working, what improvements we can make, what changes, getting to know the planning board and zoning boards. I know that there's the new master plan from a fairly recent, working on thinking about the priorities for implementing that will be a big step too. I certainly understand that economic development's important for the community. So, working on a variety of ways to support that, at the same time thinking about how we can be responsible so the town isn't incurring additional costs and different things that may come about. I have some ideas about that going forward. So we'll see. I think, there's some opportunities within the town's land use regulations for some updates. It's been a few years to incorporate some newer land use techniques, which will be good in the next year or so to work on with the planning board. Ultimately, I see my role as a support person for the boards and the community as a whole, both staff and residents, and people interested in coming to Plymouth in whatever fashion that may bring them here. And I want to make sure that we do things in a way that really supports the community's efforts and be responsible towards our future too. So certainly, I'm going to be working on some grant ideas. I think Joe and I might have a meeting Thursday or something coming up, pretty quickly, jumping in on some things here. So, just also have some few ideas of just looking at kind of overall plans and kind of the data for the town. What do we know? What can we update about housing, road networks, things like that might help prepare us and be in better shape when we have an opportunity for some grant funding perhaps to come about. So please give me a call at Town Hall. My email is now on the town's website in the planning section, I believe. So email is a great way to reach me too. So feel free to reach out and with your ideas and suggestions and questions. So anybody has any questions right now, I'm happy to answer them. So
Welcome aboard.
thank you.
Any questions from the board? Okay. Well, thank you very much, June. Looking forward to working with you. And you're hitting Plymouth at a boom town right now, so you can't lose. Let's hope. Next up, I'd like to call President Don Burks and Marlon Collingwood to communicate about, I guess, enrollment in student life and also the reentry of students in the spring semester. And Marlon, you also are going to speak about PSU letter of support to request recognition in Business New Hampshire.
Yeah, thank you all for allowing us to be here. I'm going to turn it over to President Burks to talk a little bit about our reopening, and then I'll jump back in to answer some questions and talk about the letter.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Marlon. Thanks, Bill, and the rest of the select board. And thanks to all the people in Plymouth for the support you've given us this last semester through all the challenges we faced and you faced. And I know it's not easy to have a bunch of students returning to campus in the midst of a pandemic, but I appreciate all the support we've been given, and I know the students do as well. I also want to congratulate June. She has been a great asset to Plymouth State University, and I know she'll be equally as strong as a member of the group for planning for Plymouth. Nothing but the best to say about June. Just wanted to make a few comments about what's happening for the spring term so we can sort of fill you in. As many of you know, we delayed the start of the spring term to February 1st. Primary reason to do that was to allow time between Christmas and New Year's for any students who might have been involved in larger group gatherings, which we suspected would be kind of common, particularly for New Year's Eve parties, and be able to have them well tested and know what the situation was with the virus before they returned. So we are going to do the pre-testing. We've already started that with the athletic students who are returning this week in stages. As many of you also probably know or have heard, there will be athletic competitions this term. The LEC, which last year decided not to hold competitions, decided that this year, as long as we had sufficient testing and were able to control and felt better able to manage the teams and the virus, that we would have competition. Now it's divided into two parts, the north and the south, so that teams in similar areas of viral spread are in areas and playing against teams that are in similarly situated. So the goal is not to introduce and bring teams in and also play teams from outside the region that might not have the lower levels of viral spread that we have here. So I think they've got a good way of doing it safely. There's a lot of testing before games and also afterwards. So I think it'll be a good situation. The rest of the students will start coming back latter part of the month, probably in the week of the 25th, just before February 1st. As many of you know, a lot of the students stay in the housing that's off campus, although on-campus housing has been pretty much shut down except for students that really had nowhere else to go. There are students that have returned because of skiing and various things like that and jobs that they have. Our situation next semester will be much the same as it was in the previous semester, except for a few things where we've enhanced testing. We've gone with a new group called Broad that does university testing. The reason for that is they're able to give us a turnaround time in half the time that we were able to do it with Quest. And we don't have the situation that occurs sometimes when there's a lot of cases and Quest has to work with the general public to address those cases. So this semester, we'll have turnaround times in roughly 24 hours to 36 hours. So we're looking forward to that as an ability to really track and control the virus as much as possible. We've also introduced 2 types of rapid testing that give us the ability for students who might have some symptoms or even feel like they were in a situation where they might be asymptomatic but want to get tested. And we can give testing and get results back in 15 minutes to an hour. Combined with that, we have set up our own internal testing laboratory that we did last semester that will start this semester, which gives us the ability to, in any cases where we have testing that's needed because maybe a cluster breaks out or there's a group of students we really want to test and it doesn't fit within our cycle, we can test up to 92 students at a time with this and be able to track what's going on campus. So really our goals this semester are to improve the testing. We're also looking at and working on outfitting our residence halls and our classrooms with HEPA and UV filters, as well as a new nano filter that desiccates the molecules that viruses are spread on. So hopefully with all these changes we're putting in place and all the lessons we've learned, even in spite of the increased number of cases that are in the country right now, we feel we're in pretty good shape to handle the returning students. I also want to add that we'll be completing the semester as normal. We're skipping spring break this time and just pushing through to graduation time towards the middle part of May. We'll have more about that when time goes on. Right now, we're looking at maybe being able to do that outside, maybe not doing it. We'll see how the semester plays out and what happens with the vaccine availability. So that's kind of a background on what we're doing. Same kind of procedures, daily meetings to track things. We'll have the trigger matrix and also the tracking matrix, so you'll be able to see what's happening on campus as soon as we can get that out, which will be generally every day and at least a summary at the end of each week. So hopefully we're well prepared and the students are going to come back ready to go and in a situation where they're well tested. I will tell you there will be fewer students returning this semester than were here last semester. That's good in some ways because it gives us more ability to spread things out. But primarily the reason for that is some students really want to stay at home, and the offerings of online courses enable those students to be able to do that. So that's kind of the plan for spring. Just wanted to acquaint you with it and see if there are any issues, and know that we're available, and Marlon's available anytime that you have anything you'd like to know or want to get in touch with us about it. So that's kind of our summary from our COVID testing. And of course, Marlon will be leading that process as he did last semester so ably. So any questions about that? Yeah, Scott.
Simple question. You mentioned that you're going to have sports competition. Will there be spectators at these events, and are they limited in numbers that can attend?
The inside events, no, there won't be any spectators. We have to close the campus off. I'm sorry. We do that to protect the community as well as the students.
Thank you.
I have two questions. Is the reduced number of students coming back in the spring purely a switch to online, or are you seeing some reduction in your overall enrollment?
So far, we're not sure, but we think most of it is going to be from students deciding to switch to online because they told us they are. There are students that have not enrolled with the spring term yet, and we know there are some that are going to wait the spring term out and come back in fall. So it's going to be a mixture, but most of the students, I think, would fall into the category of having informed us that they want to be online this semester. And the number is roughly 300. What?
Yeah, and Zach, we gave students 3 choices. We asked them to tell us if they wanted to come back in person and attend classes, if they wanted to come back in person and be hybrid, meaning that some classes would be online, some classes would be in person, or if they wanted to stay remote. And as Dawn said, we have about 300 students who have told us thus far that they'd like to be remote for the semester. I will say this from an enrollment standpoint, surprisingly enough, we are double the amount of deposits right now for fall of 2021 than we were last year at this time. So I think it's going to be a really interesting year from an enrollment and an admission standpoint.
Well, you answered my follow-up question because I was going to ask. I knew it was like sort of pre-application season.
Yes.
And hear how those numbers were looking for fall.
Yeah, I think last year at this
all
time,
your patterns are kind of out the window.
Yeah, and I would say this, one of the issues we're facing from an enrollment standpoint is that a lot of students weren't able to take the SATs. So we're waiting for them to do that when the SAT sites begin to reopen. But right now, we're about 50% ahead of deposits for fall than we were for this past fall.
Good.
I thought your SAT, you didn't require SATs.
We don't require it, Bill, but when a student takes an SAT, then we get their information to begin to talk to them about coming to Plymouth State. And that number is down by about 60% right now in the state of New Hampshire.
As many schools do, Bill, we get a list of students that are in the region that take the test, and that helps us to be able to contact them. It's a little hard right now because of what's happening in schools across the country as well.
Which also probably means you're not doing as many college fairs either.
There are no college fairs. They're all virtual right now. So I have an admissions team of 20 plus staff members who are basically doing everything virtual right now. The other thing that's really interesting from a higher ed standpoint is guidance counselors, and we had a call last week with all of the guidance counselors in New Hampshire. About 80% of their interaction with students is drop-in, right? So a student's walking down the hallway and decides, hey, I'm going to go see the guidance counselor. With schools being remote, that has literally gone down to almost zero. So guidance counselors are working very hard to reach out to seniors and have conversations with them about what the fall might look like and whether they want to go to college and where they might want to apply. So it's a whole new world.
Wow.
Marlon,
Yes.
additional question. In the fall, there were certain restrictions put in place with the students, and then those were somewhat relaxed a little bit in October, I think it was. So when the students come back, at what level of restrictions are in place for them when they re-enter?
So Scott, it's a great question. We're going to go back to literally where we were at the beginning of the fall semester. So there will be no visitors allowed on campus, no outside visitors into any residence halls. When we start, there'll be no visiting between residence halls. And all of those kinds of things are going to be in place, again, until we see where we are from a testing standpoint and what begins to happen with the virus before we relax any of those things. I will also say this, masks are still mandatory inside all of our buildings. We are telling our students that the masked ordinance in Plymouth is still in place. And it's important for them to understand that part of their responsibility of being a good citizen of Plymouth is to follow that ordinance as well.
Thank you. We appreciate that. And maybe just messaging them, not only does the town have an ordinance, but emergency order number 74, which the governor enacted, which does expire this Friday, but I'm sure we will see a new order in place prior to Friday with regards to mask and face coverings.
Yep. And I would just say, and President Burks mentioned this, our website, plymouth.edu, has our trigger points, which we just reposted again on Friday. So you can kind of see how we're monitoring things every day, and also all of our testing results. Right now, those are being updated weekly, but when the semester begins at the end of January, we'll be updating those daily.
Thank you. I appreciate your efforts.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marilyn. What else?
Well, the only other thing, so if there are no other questions, Bill and Kathy know this. Plymouth State was contacted about 10 days ago from the New Hampshire Business Journal. We have been nominated as an Educator of the Year. They have a new category this year for educational institutions that have handled COVID in exemplary ways. And we were very pleased to be nominated in that category. And one of the things they're asking for is a letter of recommendation for that nomination from the Plymouth Selectboard. So Bill and Kathy have a draft letter, which they worked with our marketing communications team on. We would love it if the Select Board would consider supporting our nomination, which we think would be a great opportunity for both the town of Plymouth and Plymouth State University.
Thank you, Marlon. And you have a drop dead date, right, of the 15th?
It's this Friday. Yes, correct.
All right. Unfortunately, we didn't address what we might do with that draft during our work session. So, we can just put it on the agenda at some point. Anne's playing around right now with the.
We have, the board has received a copy of that letter. If you wanted to discuss it now, Bill, if that's something you're interested in.
Sure.
It just went out to them this afternoon.
I think the letter looks great. I read it and I would support it 100%.
Thank you, John.
I'll take John's word for it.
That was well written. It was well written.
I'd like to say thank you. I didn't write it though, but the sentiment is ours. Zach, any discussion on your part, or?
I'll admit I'm quick reading it right now.
Okay. It's a lengthy letter, but.
It's only 2 pages.
So as Zach completes the read, is there a motion to go forward with the letter of recommendation?
I'll move.
Second.
All right. John moved, Neil seconded, and also make me a signatory. There was like a 1 signature line there, but is that okay? All right. John moved, Neil second. Any discussion? Seeing none, Neil, your vote.
Aye.
Zach?
Can't call me last.
So yeah, Mary Ann.
Aye.
John.
Aye.
Bill. Aye. Zach? doesn't matter. We got a majority.
Aye.
Thank you.
Right.
All right. I guess I'll sign it tomorrow or stamp it or whatever.
Yeah, that's great, Bill. And I'll have Patrick from our team be back in touch with Kathy about next steps on that. But we really appreciate it. And I just want to say, Dawn said this earlier, the partnership we've had, we want to continue, obviously. I think it's important for you all to know that we are still having weekly conversations with the local landlords. We're going to continue that as well. This semester, I think, is going to be successful, but I think it's going to be very difficult because we're in a very different place than we were with the virus in August. So we're going to work really hard to work with you all. And again, I'm happy to be on any meeting that you'd like me to be on to give you all updates.
Well, thank you, Marlon. Maybe Dr. Burks can have his sister come visit since she's out of work after the end.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, she doesn't know what she's going to do next. You know how these political jobs are.
Huh. Is she going back to Africa to do HIV or?
I don't know. I don't think she knows. I think she's thinking through what she wants to do next now. So her last day is the 20th.
Yeah.
We'll
And
see.
just so everybody knows, we have invited her to be our commencement speaker this year.
Oh,
So
that's great.
hopefully that will happen, and that will be a nice piece of news for both our graduating students and for the town.
Nice.
Very good. Well, thank you very much, Don and Marlon.
Thank you all, and you know how to reach me if any questions come up at all.
Okay, will do.
Thanks all.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Scott Whedon,
Sure.
Management Director. And can we wrap up all the issues as well? And I also see that Lisa Donor's on the call, so let's have a discussion about her comment as well, as long as she has no problem with that. Okay, so thumbs up from Lisa. So Scott, please.
Okay. I'll go through the update and then we can address that once I've finished the update that I have. Is that okay with you?
Yep.
Okay. So just as an update with regards to what's going on with the governor's office in the executive orders, currently we have Executive Order 2025 that's in place. That is the 14th extension of the state of emergency. We have Emergency Order number 72, which was an extension of Order 52. And that order is due to expire on January 15th, Friday. And we have Emergency Order number 74, which is the mask and face covering order. And that again is due to expire on Friday, January 15th. I would expect that in the governor's either tomorrow afternoon or a Thursday update, we will see an extension of both of those orders, moving us further into the winter months. I don't know, Bill, if you want to take up the COVID illness policy now.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. So with regards to the COVID illness policy that we have in place, and I think we've come to know that that is a living document now. There's two adjustments to that, or two edits to the document from our last update on December 14th. One of them is in number 5. And what that states is employees should not return to work until cleared by a healthcare provider or 10 days from the onset of symptoms, not the last. So it's onset of symptoms. That's the first update. And then the second update is in number 14, which currently talked about the Families First Coronavirus Response Act. That expired on December 31st, 2020. It was not renewed. So there is new language that talks about the paid sick leave and paid family medical leave act benefits provided under the Family First Coronavirus Response Act, expired on 12/31/20. Employees who must take leave under the COVID-19 illness policy must utilize accrued sick, vacation, or personal time while they are out of work. Employees may further request to utilize up to their annual allocation of unearned time with the understanding that they are responsible for the reimbursement of any amount of time utilized if they leave the town of Plymouth prior to earning the annual collection. That language was, I think, created by Anne for the purpose of how the leave would be used. So those are the two updates now. I will tell you, based on some information I received from Chief Morrison today, we're going to have additional updates when we come back to the meeting on January 25th with regards to vaccinations and with regards to the coronavirus being tested positive. One of those is if we have a town employee that has received both vaccinations and is 14 days from the second vaccination, there is no quarantining for high-risk travel. If we have an employee who tested positive for COVID-19 within a 90-day period, there is no need for high-risk travel quarantining. But that was new to me today, so we'll be doing some more research on that and getting the appropriate language needed to fill into the COVID-19 illness policy.
Okay. Thank you, Scott. Do we continue to approve the policy as Scott has currently drafted it, or?
Please, I'm looking for a motion to approve it as amended with today's date, and then we'll update it again next time, and we'll just keep going.
Okay.
I'll move to accept Scott's proposed amendments.
All right.
Second.
Zach moved, John seconds. Any discussion? Seeing none, Neil, your vote.
Aye.
Mary Ann?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Zach?
Aye.
And Bill, aye. Thanks, Scott.
Okay, moving on. One other piece, through Homeland Security Emergency Management, through the Web EOC, which is the site that I visit usually every evening to see if there's any issues going on. They have created a Department of Transportation section within the Web EOC. And part of that is so that the state DOT can monitor where the towns are with regards to, do you have employees out of work for a positive COVID-19? How many miles of road, paved road, dirt road, how many employees you have, how many hired trucks you have. So I worked with Joe at the end of last week to receive that information from him. And I have updated the Web EOC with the town of Plymouth information. And part of that is they monitor that. So if we have 2 employees out with positive COVID-19, they would reach out to Joe and say, hey, is there something we can do for you? Is there a certain mile of road that we can plow? Or is there a hired truck we can bring in to help you haul snow, or whatever the situation may be? So Joe was very good about getting that information over to me. We've updated and taken care of that through the Web EOC. And Joe will send me up any updates he has, and I will go in and make sure they are updated accordingly. So I just wanted to give you a heads up on that section that was added last week. The other thing we have, and Kathy had mentioned it to Tom and I, was with regards to town meeting and what we will be doing for town meeting. And Chief Morrison and I have done some research on that. There's a document that was developed by NHMA, and the latest version of that document was dated 1/7/2021. And I noticed in today's Town and City magazine, there's an article on page 14, which was authored by Cordell Johnson, which is one of the legal staff there. An interesting title of his document with regards to a nightmare on Main Street, town meeting in a pandemic. So I haven't had a chance to read the full article. I just got it late this afternoon, but it may be a resource that the board wants to take a look at. Kathy wants to take a look at. Bob may want to take a look at. But that's kind of an update on what I have. Tommy, I don't know if you have anything additional you want to add to that?
No audio, Tom.
I think you're on mute.
No, he's unmuted. It's just no audio.
Nope.
Nothing.
That worked.
Keeps the meeting short.
Still can't hear him though. Not only kidding.
The town meeting discussion's coming up anyway under
Yeah.
other business. So
Right. Yep.
Okay, so why don't I take the last piece, Bill, with regards to our town ordinance on mask and face coverings. And Lisa had given us some information over the past couple days with regards to a concern that Lisa has with regards to face coverings being worn in the community, both in retail and restaurant settings. And I will say today we received notification from the Attorney General's office that the Attorney General issued a memorandum on Friday, January 8th, which reiterates to be vigilant to retail and restaurants with regards to making sure that masks are worn. The Attorney General gives several examples of how this needs to be enforced, and several reasons why not to question somebody if they don't have a mask on, if they have one of 4 different reasons for that purpose. And I can quickly read those reasons that is set out in the Attorney General's order. And how it states is that there are many exceptions for different individuals who may not be able to wear masks. Some of the exceptions that may apply to your establishments may include a person with a medical condition or disability that prevents them from wearing a mask, a person consuming food or drink or sitting at a table to eat or drink, a person who is deaf, hard of hearing, or has a disability that makes communicating with a mask difficult in any person communicating with them, or a person whose identity must be confirmed. So those are some of the things that are in this memorandum that was issued on Friday to all retail and all restaurants in the state of New Hampshire. So part of Lisa's concerns are that, and I do agree to some sense in with what Lisa's memo or email outlines, is that we do have the mask ordinance in Plymouth. There is a state mandated mask and face covering. And I think we should just all take a step back, be vigilant, and make sure that each of us, every department that we have within the town, is wearing masks when appropriate. And there always will be exigent circumstances when a mask is not going to be appropriate to wear, whether it's with fire, rescue, EMS, or law enforcement, or others in some sense. But just to reiterate that and Lisa's concern with retail in the town of Plymouth, making sure that we are vigilant and standing ground with regards to the mask ordinance and with regards to the enforcing the state emergency order 74. And Lisa, I don't know if you want to add to that or if you feel that's sufficient.
Yeah, well, I think that the only thing I would want to add to that is just that access to food is a particularly sensitive issue. If this were just a 1 month long siege, this would not be an issue, but we're now into almost a year of isolation. And my diet has certainly changed because of my changed sense of ability to go out and go shopping. I'm much more cautious. I'm spending a lot more money because I'm having food delivered. So the inability to get into the places locally that serve grocery style food, I'm not talking about restaurants, but supermarkets and markets, and feel safe about it, is impairing a greater number of people. I have received many discussions of concern about this issue. And so I would like to see a shift in the burden of effort placed more on the supermarkets and these food establishments to enforce the mask ordinance, and have it not fall on individuals like myself who are the customers, because we have no power. All we have is the ability to be frustrated and angry and upset. And it is the store that has the power to do the enforcing. But I'm not sure they're getting enough guidance about alternate ways that they could do that. They could, rather than squeeze everybody that's worried into a few hours in the morning, let's squeeze into the late evening the people who don't want to wear masks or can't wear masks. There are ways of making the access to food easier for the bulk of the population that does wear masks, that is concerned about getting sick. And like I said, after a year, this is really wearing on us all.
I appreciate your comments. I don't know if Chief Morrison or Chief Lefebvre have any input to this conversation.
I haven't seen the memo, Scott, but if you forward it to me, I mean, what you have said, it sounds like a good plan that we have some redoubling of our effort to do.
Yeah, I did read the plan earlier today, or at least the guidance that went out from the AG's office. And the bottom line is it does, tell the store owners and managers to do the proper thing. However, to what point, they should call the police, because at the very end, there's going to be confrontation. So the bottom line is, at the end, they said, don't get into a confrontation with these people and call local law enforcement and let us handle it.
I saw that document. I didn't see, did Lisa have a concern that she communicated?
Yeah, Lisa sent an email in to myself and copied, Scott, Kathy, and Ann, I believe, and
Okay.
We'll forward that email to both Steve and Tom.
Thank you.
So I think, Lisa, we definitely take your input. It's very valid and very important to us. And we'll work to be more vigilant in making sure we are observant and that the messages are getting to our local establishments as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa.
That's all I had, Bill, other than the town meeting guidance that Tommy and I have been looking into.
Sorry, I missed that. Mr. Chairman, did you want to go into the options for town meeting?
Tom, you didn't miss it yet.
Yeah,
We haven't
Okay.
gotten to it.
It's going to be under new other business regardless.
Okay.
So, geez, we missed a couple things, and Ann or Kathy, if you can remind me what we missed that we need to address before we adjourn.
Well, an email should have been sent out for police appointment for Nathan Buffington, who actually started today, I believe. Is Steve still there? No. Appointment for Nathan.
That's correct. He did start today. Yeah.
So he started today. So we're looking for the board to approve the appointment of Nathan Buffington as Detective Sergeant, full-time Detective Sergeant for the Plymouth Police Department.
I don't think, did we receive that or what?
It was the last item that was sent out today from Dawn
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
with a new agenda.
Ugh. All right, what the heck?
Steve, do you want to tell the board about Nathan?
Yeah, Nathan comes from, he's full-time certified. He comes from the Tilton Police Department, where he's been a detective for the last 12 years. But more importantly, he's been a detective sergeant, which is the current position we are using him for at Plymouth PD for the last 6 years. He comes with a lot of great experience. I've had a lot of comments from people like, geez, that was a great grab. How were you able to do that? We are very excited to have him and get him up and going.
Steve, was this an open position that you're filling?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. Do we, that's basically what we got. Okay, gotcha. Police officer appointment.
Yeah.
Okey-doke. So, based on, Steve's recommendation, and considering he started work today, is there a motion?
Don't move.
Second.
Okay, John moves, Neil seconded, and this is to approve the police officer appointment of Nathan P. Buffington of Northfield. So any discussion? Seeing none, Mary Ann, your vote?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Zach?
Aye.
Neil?
Aye.
Bill? Aye. Thanks, Steve.
Welcome, Mr. Chair. Just one more thing. Just in the signature file, if you guys stop into the town hall or whatever, his appointment paper should be in there for you guys to sign to.
Okay. And
if we could get that done sooner rather than later, because until you sign it, he can't arrest anybody.
oh, so Ann or Kathy, since I'm still on quarantine, can you just stamp it for me?
I will do that.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I do have one personnel, actually two personnel policy changes that go along with the COVID policy change.
Oh, okay.
from the
Yeah.
work session.
Yep. You want to hit that down too? Okay.
Can I just do that real quick?
Sure.
All right, so the current town policy allows for employees to borrow up to their annual amount of vacation time in advance, and vacation only. What my request here is to allow employees to also borrow sick time and personal time, because there is no more FFCRA leave or the family leave. Most of the employees who are out for the 10 days or longer are using sick time. And we're at the beginning of the year where we have a lot of new employees who, yes, they're getting 12 days, but they won't really earn all 12 days until the end of the year for sick time. And the request is to do the same thing that we do on the vacation time and have them sign a form saying that if they happen to leave prior to earning their allocation, that they will reimburse the town the amount that they were overpaid.
Okay. All right. I see that amendment actually. Okay.
So I'm wondering if the board would consider changing or adding to those two policies for vacation and personal time, allowing employees to borrow their yearly allocation or up to their yearly allocation as in advance if needed for times like this.
And if they have to pay back, do you tap their last paycheck or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we do.
All right. Thank you, Ann. Is there a motion for Ann to go ahead and change the two policies?
Don't move with the change in vacation and sick pay borrowing.
All right, John moved. Is there a second?
Aye.
Okay, Mary Ann seconds. Any discussion? What? Oh, was that a cough? Any discussion?
Clarify, this is for sick and personal time.
This is sick and personal. Yep.
Okay. Any further discussion? Neil, your vote?
Aye.
Mary Ann?
Aye.
Zach?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Bill? Aye. Thanks,
Thank
Ann. All right. Let's go to Neil.
Okay, yeah.
Proposed warrant article.
My concern is, I expressed to Bill, my desire to have a warrant article, which would declare that Plymouth is the destination for environmental studies and ecotourism. A few years ago, the select board approved the similar type declaration, and I'd like to take it to town meeting. Plymouth is situated pretty much in the center of a unique geographical area. The lakes and mountains area have been destination for many people since probably the mid 19th century. And what's happened over time is we've developed a large number of organizations that are interested in the environment, and we have many schools that are oriented towards environmental studies, and we have government agencies which are such as the Forest Service and Fish and Game, which are serving the public. The university has been collaborating with us, with their environmental programs. They have a meteorological institute, and the environmental programs and their business department has been collaborating. In our town government, our Conservation Commission has done an outstanding job showing great leadership in providing opportunities for people to learn about environmental studies and experience nature. So I'm asking for support from the board to have a warrant article to designate Plymouth as the destination for environmental studies and ecotourism. And Kathy has a draft. I don't know if she's got it in front of her or not. I don't have it.
All the board should have it in their packets.
Yeah.
I didn't find it in mine, but maybe it's in the email.
Yeah, it's in that packet that got sent out.
Maybe it's in my mailbox. I don't get my mail until after 6 at night.
You're a busy man, Neil.
Yeah, the mail's really slow. I think the post office is really busy.
Was this prior resolution taken to the town, or was it just voted
It
on?
was adopted by the board.
Just the board, okay.
Yeah.
And it's basically what I'm asking the town to consider. I think the town needs a brand. The town has such a long history in this area, and there's so many people that are interested in learning about nature and the environment, and we're living in times where the environment is becoming a very important subject to study.
Any discussion? Or actually, is there a motion? I guess we can have. All right, John moves to approve the warrant article, to go forward with it. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Oh, geez, so
Somebody else can.
Zach kind of like hit it. So, so John moved, Zach seconded. Any discussion?
Can I just say one thing?
Yeah.
That this warrant article that seeks to have voter support for recognizing Plymouth as such a destination is in effect a sort of municipal marketing article. So it's good for Plymouth, very good for Plymouth.
Agreed. And it's also helpful for our new planner as well.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
And I think it would help us to develop collaboration with other, with the university and other schools and organizations. And it would bring more people into this area.
Right.
it's definitely a win-win. But, all right. Well, in that case, is any further discussion?
Neil, have you reached out to the college?
Oh, absolutely. I've been working with them.
Good.
All right. Mary Ann, your vote?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Zach? Zach?
Aye.
Oh, sorry. Neil?
Aye.
And Bill, aye. Very good. Thanks, Neil.
Thank you.
All right. So next, Daniel Macera. Regarding Plymouth Ski and Sport lease vendor parking space. So he's not here.
Well,
So Kath, did you talk to Daniel?
I did not. I thought, oh, actually he was supposed to call and he did not call to be put on the agenda, but you had said if he didn't, that you would explain what it's about.
Yeah, so he came up to me a couple of times. He owns Plymouth Ski and Sport, and he leases the spot kind of where the bus stop is out in front of Town Hall. And he's concerned. So typically he, writes out a check at the beginning of the year to the town, and so he can hold it for the rest of the year. He's concerned now this year if we are going forward with water and sewer project down Main Street, he doesn't want to do that. And he was looking for some guidance on how to move forward with that. And I know in talking with Kathy, she sort of recommended him, putting a reserve on it and putting the money down. And, if the project came to be, we would obviously reimburse him. So I did, we emailed a couple of times. I explained that to him. And then I also suggested he contacted the town hall. So I'm sure he'll be back in. I'll reiterate that to him, Captain, that he gives you a call.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that spot is going to be untouched probably. So was he concerned that it'll slow down the market, or, I'm not certain what the concern was,
Yeah, I think it was just the impact to the business.
Yeah.
And was it worth it for him to do it?
Isn't the project going to start in front of Fat Fish?
And down further, yes.
Yeah, down further, more like to Warren Street.
So it may not impact him that much.
Right.
Right, now it looks like the project won't start till July, I believe. And once again, it will start at Warren. I don't know the breakdown. So you're right, it may not impact him at all for those months.
Okay. So he's going to reach out to Kathy.
Right.
All right.
Okay.
Okay. Next up, Zach Terrell. Town meeting discussion. I guess also with Tom and.
Yeah, I was going to say this is much Tom and probably Scott and honestly Bob more than me. I just wanted to sort of get on the agenda. We have a town meeting coming up. We got to figure out how to run this thing under fairly challenging situations. There is a House bill in the state that allows for this opt-in to a drive-through voting kind of system. Might want to discuss that, whether that's the right option, whether people have other ideas, but I think it's a lot to plan no matter what we're going to do. And I really wanted to get that conversation started before we get too much closer to our town meeting.
So my
Oh,
question,
I did. Oh, go ahead, Bob.
my question is, are you talking the actual meeting itself or the election?
Well, yes. I mean, I think these things they all start to tie in together, right? If we decided we wanted to go with this recommendation from the House bill, it really dictates both. You know, it talks about how you have to run you can run the town meeting, the actual discussion of the items as a virtual event. Then you have people come and do a drive-in voting event. And then you can sort of have a second event where you announce what happened or whatever. So I don't have the details all memorized. I'm sort of speaking off the top of my head.
So
But
it's
these
from
things
what
are- these things are all tied together. We could figure out a way to do town meeting that doesn't affect, but I think we have to. These two events are very related to each other.
As I understand, the bill allows you to postpone the actual in-person meeting all the way until July.
I thought I had seen May, but I haven't seen that latest bill.
Yep.
And
Yeah, there is a postponement in here as well.
right. And my thought would be that you have the elections on the standard time for the positions, and then postpone until later in the season the physical town meeting itself, with a hope that we would be able to meet. And if not, then at that point in time, we would look at another form of running a town meeting.
I did read that article that Scott was referring to in Town and City today, and it was from a moderator, and I forget the town Scott, the gentleman that you spoke about, was from, but he talked about what a nightmare it was for them this summer when they did their virtual town meeting. And the funny part was he actually suggested that others could try it, but they didn't intend to ever again. So
Yeah,
that was one
I've not
option.
seen that article. I'd like to see it. My email address is bobclay@roadrunner.com. If one of you would forward that to me, please.
Okay.
But
Scott and I had spoke today too about, I think it would behoove us to seek out counsel from NHMA and or the town council. But I would agree with Bob, at least at present, the way the vaccine's not being rolled out, I don't think an in-person town meeting is prudent for March.
Yeah.
But if we're going to do it in May, depending on how things go with the vaccine, we need to keep moving, because there's an informational session. If you're going to do a virtual, there's an informational session that has to take place 7 days before, and we're going to be bumping up to the clock either way.
You're also required to do a mailing if you do the virtual option, which again we would have to get moving on if we were going to do.
Right. But I do like the idea of postponing it to give us some discretionary time to make a wise decision. We're only 8 weeks out now if we were going to try to have a March meeting.
Mm-hmm.
But based on the timeline that the governor put out for vaccines, I can't see us even meeting in person in May.
No.
are you sure that it doesn't say July in the law?
It's seen May, but
I can't find a date in what
You can go as late as July.
As late as July, right? Dan's putting his hand up, and I know
Yeah.
he wants to get into this conversation, so I'll recognize you, Dan, if the rest of them won't.
Mr. Colton, the chair recognizing me?
Yeah, go ahead, Dan. I'm sorry.
So I just wanted to offer some thoughts on this conversation. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Dan Rosser. I'm the business administrator for the SAU. I'm also the moderator of your next door town. So I've been getting into this subject specifically pretty heavily in the last couple of weeks, including a 5-hour session with NHMA this past Saturday morning for moderators. And I just want to offer some thoughts. There's two things to consider. One is the process I'll refer to as the alternative process that was spelled out in HB 1129 that's now been codified in RSA 8:3. That's the alternative process option for what I would call your business meeting or your district meeting or your town meeting, not your ballot day, if you will. The other contemplated legislation, which is unfortunately named SB2, was passed by the Senate last week. The House has not acted upon, and obviously the governor hasn't signed it into law with the House not having acted on it yet. And SB2 specifically talks about being able to delay your balloting session and possibly your district meeting as late as July. But that's, once again, speculative contemplated legislation at this point in time. What has been codified is the alternative process, frequently referred to as HB 1129, about your district meeting. And that's the process. I could spell it out for you pretty clearly about what has to happen, but it does include, as Zach said, it does include a mailing to every registered voter. It does include 2 virtual information sessions, which would start after March 1st when the RSA calls for the election process starting. And it can happen either before or after your balloting day. But those 2 informational sessions, which occurred no more than 7 days apart, followed by a drive-through voting procedure. And that's to replace your district meeting rather than an in-person district meeting. That's an option for you if you don't want to have an in-person district meeting. So it's the governing body that chooses if you want to invoke that alternative process. So it would be your select board for your town meeting, or it would be the school board for your Plymouth School District meeting. On that, that is different part of the whole process from your ballot day, which is typically Tuesday, March 9th. And the last piece of it that was the real reason I started my conversation with Bob Clay and some other people recently is that not that we're envisioning this happening, but Plymouth, like 6 other towns, is a member town to a cooperative school district, Hemi Baker. And if that school board were to determine that they felt it was in best interest to go with the alternative process for the district, for their voting, they would need, it would be the town moderators of the 7 member towns that would need to come to an agreement on what would happen with the Hemi Baker voting. So that was a lot to say. I apologize if it was too much, if I take too much of your time. But if I can be a resource for you is the main reason I'm here. I'm doing a lot of work with this exact subject on alternative processes for annual meetings. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. It's interesting.
The other thing that I just wanted to check, and Scott, you might know the answer to this, is what is the current limitation on the number of people we can put in a room together?
It's still at 100.
Okay, so at this point, we couldn't host an in-person town hall because our attendance would be too restricted.
That would be my understanding under the current governor's orders.
So it seems like we either are in a position where we have to roll the dice and hope the legislation that allows us to delay gets approved, or consider going with this RSA 8.3, aka House Bill 1129.
Can I jump back in for 1 sec?
Yeah, please.
The House, the SB2 that's being contemplated would give the opportunity to push out the meeting way distant. But your moderator currently has that power on a much more limited scale. Your moderator could currently push it out up to 2 weeks at a time, but no more than 72 hours in advance if you were to schedule your town meeting for a specific night. It's a process that has to be repeated every 2 weeks, unfortunately, but that's still an option under the current legislation. And to be clear, I want to make sure everyone knows I'm not a lawyer, but I've been spending a lot of time on this subject recently.
Looking for SB2 right now. Can't find SB2. Oh, well.
That's a pretty terribly named Senate bill, considering SB2 is another way to run town meeting.
Yes.
Yep. I'm sure they didn't do it on purpose,
I'm sure, yeah.
but I don't see it. Oh, well.
Dan, what was the RSA that you originally said? Was it 8.3?
The process for pushing out, the process for the alternative process for your district meeting or town meeting is currently RSA 8:3, which was a result of HB 1179 in the last session.
Thank you.
1129.
1129.
Thank you. 1129. I apologize. We actually have one of our school districts in the SAU is moving forward with that alternative process for their annual school district meeting under RSA 8:3.
What town is that, or what school?
The Waterville Valley School District.
Okay.
We're as each of the subsequent school district meetings for all our districts, this subject is being reviewed over the next several weeks, few weeks, I should say. I've asked the superintendent and the two assistant superintendents to address it with each of their school boards at their next meeting, and that's what they're doing.
Okay.
Josie, do you have anything to offer? Or are you just like monitoring what's being discussed, or you're on mute?
You're on mute, Josie.
Thank you. No, I don't have anything else to offer. I'm just listening in. I've heard about, Bob would have the right to postpone or set a date if, our town chose to do that. But yeah, I think this is going to be a conversation to see what happens in the future.
Okay.
Well, how are the selectmen leaning on this? What are you thinking? Or are you thinking? Are you just trying to digest it all at this point?
I was certain someone was going to come up with a solution. So.
So I have a concern about this. So like when I do my budget, it goes from July to July. So if we don't have this resolved until July, like in March is when after the meeting is when I start to put out all my bids for my work coming up for July. So if this doesn't happen till July, then that doesn't put my department in a very good position. That's just an observation on my part.
Yep. I think everyone's going to be in the same boat. But
Well, they've done this in the past, other towns. How did they deal with that? How did they deal with those provisions? I'm sure they had to deal with it. I mean, it happened last year. I know towns that didn't have their meeting until, they were scheduled later than when everything started going down in March and ended up doing later in the year. School districts did it. How do they do that financially? That's a good question. I don't know. So
I suppose
I would think possibly what they would do is, use the previous year's budget until they met and approved it.
I think that's what they would do.
Yeah.
So NHMA, I mean, obviously would be able to consult with them and see if they could help us towards a really good solution.
Well, one good thing is that in the spring, people are in a better mood.
We'll see, Neil.
They'll have their first tax bill though.
And This might be an easy, sorry, I'm just going to ask another a question. This might be an easy question to answer, but how will people cast their vote on issue? You know, would they be required to send a message to one individual with a nay or a yay, or would they have to speak? What if they don't have audio
If we adopt the alternate provisions, the voting is drive-through.
Drive-through.
Drive-through and the polls have to be open from 11 to 7.
So they would vote. So not talking about the election, but with warrant articles. Excuse me.
Correct.
They would vote. Okay.
It would all be on ballot, Josie.
Although Dan may have some clarifications on that for us.
So to be clear, one of the drawbacks of utilizing the alternative process prescribed under the RSA 83 is that there is no option or opportunity for the public to amend or move amendments on articles.
Right.
The governing body does an information session. Then there's after the first information session, I apologize if there's background noise. My computer is making some funny noises. The governing body presents an information session on the articles that are on the warrant. There's then a comment period whereby the public can make comments via submit them via email, voicemail, what have you. No more than 7 days after the first information session, there's a second information session, during which time the governing body may choose to address the comments, may choose to amend the warrant, is not required to do either of those two things. And then you have the ballot voting by drive-through process. There is no opportunity for the public to move or amend any of the articles. The last piece of that I'll tell you is that under this process, the first article on the ballot is required to be a question asking the public if they approve of this alternative process. And if they say no, the rest of the questions on the ballot are moot. They're thrown out. And you have up until September 1st to have another meeting, or you go with last year's approved operating budget and none of the other warrant articles.
It's like Senate Bill 2.
Something like that, except in Senate Bill 2, there's the first deliberative session with the opportunity to amend the articles.
Right. Yes. You guys have some tough decisions to make.
I was somehow going to try to integrate Alex's screen with park in front of the screen and watch the deliberative session, and then you could vote in your car, but you can't communicate though. Well,
I think Hilton tried that at the mall last year with their town meeting, and they weren't very successful. Either the radio didn't work, or the audio didn't work, or it was pouring.
Yes.
Hey, Bob.
Yeah.
We haven't had any changes to any of the articles or anything in the past 2 or 3 meetings, have we?
Amendments?
Yeah.
Nothing of any substance.
Yeah. What I thought.
In a well-written warrant articles, combining so that they're not 32 of them or 68 of them, to keep it brief for people to vote on. From my experience, I would say that's where you'd have your best luck.
If
I forwarded you the details of that so that you could see them as well.
Thank you.
Now, if the town decided to use an outdoor area like the amphitheater, would we still be limited to 100 people?
No, but that's tough to pull off in March.
Yeah, but if we postponed it to closer to summer, that might be a good option and give people. My concern is I don't want residents to feel like their rights have been stripped away in the community to have more of a say.
I think, Josie, that's an alternative plan, but I think right now, until the New Hampshire vaccination allocation plan is firm on when everybody will be vaccinated or have the opportunity to be vaccinated, we could see a change in many things between now and then.
Yeah.
And I mean, Tom sits in on the calls and Steve sits on the calls every Wednesday. And that plan continues to move out a little bit based on the allocation of vaccine that's coming into the state and where they thought they would be today versus where they actually are today in 1A. So, it's that rolling ball that is going to have to be kept track of with regards to what the orders are and when the orders are updated. And we all know that's every 21 days, so to speak. So
it could change.
It could change.
So Dan, do you think that if the selectmen chose to move this to May and we were still having the major COVID issues that we're dealing with now, they could change their mind for maybe a July drive-through town meeting? Yes?
That's a great question for your town council.
Okay.
I think it might be worthy of speaking to NHMA and scheduling a call during one of your work sessions coming up to have that conversation. And they may have an electoral council that they can refer you to get additional information and guidance on moving it forward.
Sounds good.
Yeah, that sounds like a really good idea, actually.
Well,
So is this the can that's getting kicked down the road?
well, couple of weeks.
Yeah, and maybe in that time, the Senate Bill 2 will pass and we'll have some space.
I wish I could be more definitive about it all, but I just don't see a decision being able to be made without all the information at this point in time.
Hey, Bob, would it, one thing, would it be possible to use the gym and the cafeteria and have video set up in there where we could accommodate more people? Or is it the limited number to one building?
It's a limited number to one space, I would say. Is that correct, Scott?
Correct.
But if maybe we could do something with the gymnasium at the high school and the gymnasium at the elementary school and have them, bound together, something like that, that's a possibility. It takes some footwork to get it done, but it's a possibility. Because that would give you two good-sized spaces, and if you marshaled it correctly and had an assistant moderator in each one and connected videoly, it's a possibility. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
So that, if I could just jump in, that's one thing that some people are considering is if you're going to go forward with an in-person meeting, as you just said, Bob, both spaces, or all spaces, I should say, should have an assistant moderator that can be appointed by your primary moderator. There has to be video and audio interlinked between all spaces. But you're also, you could require masks the moderator can require masks in the primary space, but you are going to need an alternate space for people who refuse to wear a mask. And that space is going to have to be video and audio interlinked with the primary space as well.
Right. So if we did 3 locations, one for people who refuse to wear a mask and 2 others that we could spread people out enough to be able to do it, that's a possibility.
We'd also have to identify those spaces because and I'm not sure, Bob, Josie, which one of you typically talks with the school about scheduling election and getting approval to use that space, but they may not even be comfortable with us using that space.
We have Dan sitting right here. He has a link right to the office.
Dan is sitting right here, but Dan is not on a school board.
No, I know that.
Dan works for the school boards. But I could certainly, after we have our conversations with our various boards, including the Plymouth School Board and the Penny-Baker School Board, after those 2 bodies have their conversations in the coming days, I'd be happy to report back to you on what they're doing with in terms of the school district as an entity, and maybe that adds just an ideas for your conversation.
I have a question. Is the Foley Gymnasium available?
It's not in Plymouth.
Oh, crap.
You can have it. You can have it in a different town. You just have to provide transportation to that facility.
Okay, that's new.
So we could.
Yeah. Okay.
That's a big room.
It's not the room size doesn't matter. The law still says you can only put 100 people in it.
Right.
100.
Yes.
And I mean, the fact that we have a mask ordinance, wouldn't we just require people to obey that ordinance? I mean, from our experience with the elections, pretty much everyone complied. I mean, we didn't have many issues with people at all.
You still have to accommodate. The law says you have to accommodate, and we did accommodate people. We did have people that voted outside that refused to come inside and vote because they wouldn't wear a mask. So, I mean, it's all part of it.
Yeah.
I had the same thing. I'm the moderator in Holderness, and I had one person on November 3rd who refused to put on a mask, and we just accommodated them outdoors.
Right.
Yeah.
So Bob, if we have a meeting after town elections, who's going to be our moderator?
Whoever gets elected.
Well, yeah. Are we?
It's going to be on the ballot.
My wife has said she's going to run for supervisor of the checklist for another 6-year sentence. It's not a term; it's a sentence as a supervisor. And I said, if you're going to do that, then I will run again also.
Oh, right.
You're the man.
Nobody's ever run against me, so I guess I scare them off. I just look at them and they run away. So
no, we've heard you talk about the job.
Yeah, I really was not going to sign up again, but as long as we have to be around for Jane to be able to do that job, then I said I would run again for at least one more term. I don't know if I'll do the 6-year sentence like her or not. But I will see you through this process if elected.
And so does ours. Meet the Volkswagen family of...
Hey.
Good ad, Scott.
Well, that was the newsflash that the governor is extending emergency order 74 as of Thursday. So
there you go. So
I think we're hoping against hope, Mr. Chairman. I personally don't think that an in-person meeting, given everything that we know, is going to be prudent. Let me just go on the record saying that.
I agree with you. I agree with you because I don't think COVID's going to be in a place where we're going to be able to do it. We're in this for the long haul.
Tom, would you feel more comfortable if they considered maybe May and having it at the airport?
Yeah, I mean, I said it earlier. I think at the least that would give us some discretionary time to take another look at it.
Yep, I'll do it outdoors.
Yeah.
Dan, did I understand your statement previously that the moderator's allowed to postpone it within 72, not before? How does when can he postpone?
I didn't make that statement.
I'm sorry.
Dan, not Ann.
Oh, sorry. I'm hearing different things.
So under current legislation, the moderator can postpone due to a weather emergency, for example, but for no more than 2 weeks.
And
so you can't sit here today and say we're going to schedule it for May.
Right, but you said it also had to be, it could only be done 72 hours before the meeting? No sooner?
Has to be done 72 hours before the meeting.
Correct. No, it's between, I believe, Bob, it's between 72 and 24 hours prior to the meeting.
Right, but it's 72.
There's a known weather emergency, for example, coming in. The moderator can say, we're putting this off for 2 weeks.
Right.
So you could tell your public, hey, we're gonna try and do it in May, but you'd have to go through with the actions of saying, we're technically, they have to legitimately schedule it, publish it, etc. for, call it March 8th or March 10th or whatever day you want to choose, and then the day before say, no, we're putting it off 2 weeks, and start the process over, and then move forward 2 weeks and do it again. No, we're putting it off for 2 weeks, that sort of thing.
Right.
But if Senate Bill 2 goes through, we can schedule later on.
Correct, yes.
And that's what we're hoping for.
When is that up for a vote? Do we know?
I can't even find it.
I'm reading this right now on NHMA. Apparently, the Senate voted on it quickly, but it's stuck, and the House is not voting until the last week of January or first week of February.
Oh.
Committee hearings.
Mm-hmm. And then it would still have to go to the governor to get signed. So this isn't getting decided super quick.
So when do we meet again to discuss this? When we have more information?
Well, we were talking about having at our next work session, an HMA there, or
That would be
Do you
good.
want- do you want them there on the 25th, Bill?
That's the public hearing for the budget.
Oh,
The budget work session is the 19th.
We call a special meeting to talk about election procedures.
Yeah, you should come.
or we could have our attorney there too, for that matter, just meet without need to post. I shouldn't say that online, but
I mean, it's the rule.
we'll see if we can set something up and let the board and also the election officials know. And Dan as well, if you wanted to know, and everybody. We'll see what we can do on the time frame.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Now I'm going to go to my other meeting that was scheduled at the same time.
Thanks for joining.
All right.
Thanks, Bob.
Thank you.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
All right.
Bye, Bob.
Bye-bye.
Okay, so what else?
I think that's it.
And left. I was gonna call him out in the committee reports.
Any committee reports?
So on the topic of committee reports, the budget numbers are looking pretty challenging from both the high school and the elementary school.
Really?
I don't know where they're going to land because obviously they're at a similar point as us where they're still going through the details, but based on the latest numbers I saw, the high school was looking at a 67-cent increase, and the elementary school potentially as high as $1.64.
How much was the elementary school?
$1.64.
$1.64.
Thank you.
Weren't they getting COVID funds, or that just didn't happen?
I don't know the answer to that, but if you took our budget as currently written, which is like plus 298, which is not, I think, where we will land, but if you put all that together, you've got conversation that's over $6, which no one in the community will accept.
No.
But obviously, I'm looking at numbers. It's secondhand. I'm not on those boards, but looking at agendas and minutes, and I don't know. There may be more nuance.
Well, thank you, Zach.
Thanks, Zach.
You're welcome.
Any other committee reports? Mary Ann, you don't want to talk about
It was such a show. It was such a so we're having we've had a hearing the other day for some suggested zoning changes that the group has been working on for quite some time, and another group or some folks joined us on that meeting and voiced lots of concerns. So we're going to have, I think the next hearing meeting I forget when it is. It's our next.
First.
Yes, right. And so hopefully more people will join, and then we'll make a decision whether we hold off with the zoning changes or we move forward or we make some changes but not others. So it's gotten a little messy.
Do you know what the primary nature of the concern is?
So a lot of it, well, so there's the ag zone. So even the renaming of the ag zone is difficult for people. Most of it has to do right with the ag zone, especially along the Route 3 area.
I've had several people call me about that. And
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we all have. Yeah.
Get with the planning board and see.
Yeah, it's a tough one, all this work, and then to hold it off for another year, and just trying to get people involved during that. If we do hold it off another year, make sure we have people involved in that process, as opposed to pushing it off for a year, no one else gets involved, and we're just back in the same spot we were and waited a year. So we're trying to figure that out.
Yeah, I'm not going to talk to the issues that were raised, but one of the issues was, geez, it's the time of COVID. You know, we should be pushing this off because of COVID. And I'm thinking we probably get better representation on a Zoom call than we would ever get in person. So it's not a real good. That's not a really good reason. But and you were publicizing the changes months in advance.
Right.
You had a couple of years to think about it because of the master plan. So, you know, it's not like this was a surprise, but
right.
I guess some people were surprised. So anyway, we'll see where that goes, I guess. Any other committee reports? If I was doing my homework, I'd give you a good a Conservation Commission report, but you know, because they've been gifted some properties for conservation by the Favres, and it's a large tracts of land that you know, they could put into conservation, and you know, it's like beautiful land. So, but I don't have the details. But anyway, Lisa was on earlier. We probably should have hit her up, but because she's the chair. Any other things? Public? Any public comments? Well, so
motion to adjourn.
Not yet. Well, so Joe, I think, you know, we looked at your, you know, the roads that you were going to target this upcoming year. I think maybe we should, I think we'll have that discussion anyway, but it's going to be like next week. And I don't know if we're going to have the department heads there as well, but, or, you know, at the Zoom meeting, but it'd be worthy of discussing, you know, what you're targeting, I guess. But so anyway,
Well,
since
Joe's on mute.
What's that? Oh, I don't think he's had something to say anyway, but
oh
yeah.
Yeah, sure. I got plenty to say.
Well, that's it for me.
I felt like I
Thanks
got
very much, Bill.
Cut it off.
I feel like I got cut short at the other meeting. So I mean, as long as the next meeting comes up and we get a chance to discuss it, I'll be fine.
Yeah, I think you'll have that opportunity, or we all will.
Good.
Yep.
Thank you, Joe.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you, Joe. So, any other issue that we should chat about?
Is the personnel issue that was in our packet something that is timely for discussion?
It depends. Sure. And let me open that. I just want to take a look at that. You know, what was in our packet actually.
So I'll move that we go to private session for it.
Yeah, we need to.
Are we going to go into closed session?
Yeah, let's do that.
All right, I make a motion, we go into non-public RSA 91A:3, 2 for personnel.
Okay. Okay, Neil seconded, right? Zach moved, Neil seconded. John, your vote?
Aye.
Mary Ann?
Aye.
Neil?
Aye.
Zach?
Aye.
Bill? Aye. Okay, we're in non-public.
Good night,